Welcome back to another episode of Explore Grand County. With me once again, I've got the Superintendent of Grand County Schools, Mitch Webster. Mitch, it's great to have you back. It's been a while.
Been a while, JR. Got off to a busy school year, and then I saw you at a basketball game, and I thought, we were doing these probably, well, it was particularly during COVID, and we had a lot of issues. We were trying to do them bi-monthly or so, but I thought maybe quarterly now, unless things pop up, but we are through the first semester, so we didn't even hit quarterly. So let's do some catch up.
I can't even believe that we're a week away from Christmas today.
Crazy. It's unbelievable.
That's
but
nuts.
Glad I ran into it at the basketball game, and we were able to set this up because several things we can talk about.
Yeah, and I enjoy doing those basketball games.
I tell you, they're fun. They are fun. It takes me back to the days when I coached. I still don't. I don't do well during ball games when I've got a particular dog in the fight. Now, if I don't care who wins, I just sit back and enjoy. But and it was tough the other night with Petersburg and Union because obviously I like to see both our county schools do well. And I was really impressed with the UEC basketball team. No more kids than they have because of their small numbers. Very competitive and
it shocked me. It shocked me. Yeah. They got a center.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, she was blocking shots, pulling down rebounds.
Right, and kids that can shoot. I wish they had a little more depth. It's just hard, particularly play back-to-back nights like they did in that tournament when you don't have the depth that other teams have with 10 or 12 players.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we like the basketball. So, I tell you what, I know you have something to talk about, but since we talked about union sports, Zachary Kessner asked, do you plan to fund any other sports programs in Union? Let's start there since we're talking about
and that's a good question. We've added some new sports since my tenure as superintendent at Petersburg High School. Junior high softball for one, junior high golf comes to mind. When someone comes to the board and asks to add a new sport, we have to look at a couple of things. And first of all, the biggest thing was, do we have enough kids that are interested in that program?
It's probably like you couldn't start a football team at Union.
Right. It'd be very difficult. That's a very good example. But if there are sports that we do not have in place at UEC that there is interest for and we could sustain it, we would certainly be open to listening to that, because I would like to keep kids involved in as many ways as we can with extracurricular. So that would be my
one of the big ones that, and I don't know if they get enough love, but the archery team at Petersburg seems to do very well. And now, of course, I don't know. I don't think you have to have a certain number.
No, you don't. And I'm jumping the gun on you here when you brought that up, because we'll talk about the upcoming levy call that we'll have in place in the fall. But Jake Gray gave me the numbers, and I can't remember exactly offhand, but the number of sports that have been added since like the mid '80s, but we've not grown our facilities at all. So we're rolling out mats for the wrestling team in the cafeteria. We're putting cheerleaders in the Petersburg Elementary cafeteria and folding tables up. We're taking the archery team and just trying to find a place to put them. And all of those coaches, and justifiably so, have come and talked to me and the board with frustration that we have these sports but no place to put them. So when you see on the levy call that there is a call for a extracurricular facilities building, the plan would be to locate it down where the tennis courts are across from the vocational center, and have that for these sports right now that don't have a home. And that would even include softball and baseball, because they start in February.
Yeah.
And a lot of those days the weather's not good enough to be outside. The basketball teams, if are going to state, they're still practicing inside. We just don't have any place to put our kids. And the only alternative sometimes is bring them back for 7, 8 o'clock at night practices, and that's not good. So that's one of the big things from a facilities aspect that we will have on the next levy.
Okay, so while we're there, let's just jump into the levy.
Okay.
Let's. You want to go over some of the things that are? Have you set the actual levy of what's going to be in it, or are you still working those
We are
out?
still working on that, and I've given you, and please, this as you see at the top, it says draft. That's my handwriting in some of it. It's not a kind of rudimentary right now. It's not it's certainly not a final draft or anything like that. But we've looked in 4 areas. Some of the continued items would be to keep our aides on the buses. We'd like to have a pro officer in each one of our schools.
Now I noticed that is an up. That goes, if I remember my figures from that would be an increase.
That's because we only have 2 now. We'd like to have 4.
Yeah.
We'd like to have 4, and we're hearing a lot of people tell us they'd like to see that. We want to continue with free admission into sporting events for folks, and we'd like to continue to, other than what the school aid formula pays or gives us, we'd like to continue to have 2 professional and 2 service positions. So those are continued items. The new items are there that we're looking at. I'm not going to go over each one of them unless you have questions about them. Then we still have question marks. Do we want to step up and do anything civically for our community? I was at a conference last week, a leadership conference at the Greenbrier, and a guy who was a CEO with Apple said that when they move into an area, their employees that will locate there, he said their top 3 things, and I really would not have guessed this, but he said the top 3 things are, what's the quality of the schools, what are their public libraries like, and what are their places of worship like. That's what their employees want to know. And libraries are extension to some degree of our schools. They provide a great service for our kids, particularly in the summer when they can go get books and so forth. So we have that on there as a possibility. Question marks, hasn't been decided yet. But
I noticed there, like the contribution. So would there be something attached to that? Like, okay, we're giving you this money because we want you to upgrade the computer facility. Or would it be just, here's the money you use for what you think?
That's a good question, and I'll tell you how I'm going to answer that. We get a recommendation from the state every year of how much they expect. We're expected to contribute to our library. That's an expectation the state has with the money they give us. So we already make a contribution to the library, but it's not nearly what the state recommends because we just don't have it. We'd like to do more. So whatever that expectation is from the state as to where they would like to see that money invested, that's where it would go for those type of things. That's a very good question. And then the facilities and safe schools. And what you can see that I've done on each one of them, if they have a P beside them, that's a personnel. An SS is a safe school. EX is extracurricular. And I believe F is facilities. So that would be the areas that we're looking at.
So it looks like if we just do the 5-year total, $10 million, approximate, a little over, $10 million. What was the levy this past time?
I think it was around $12 million.
$12 million.
Right.
Okay. So it would be a little less.
We're looking at the current levy is 27%.
Okay.
And a good way to just kind of tell you what that means is if you would normally pay $100 for, let's say, your vehicle tax, now you'd pay $127. Okay. It's $27 but we're looking to drop that to 20%. So it'd be a 7% decrease.
Okay.
Over a 5-year period.
So if you paid $100, you'd pay $120.
Pay $120.
But if you paid $1,000,
pay $1,200.
I was going to see if you knew that math.
Yeah, I knew that math. But you know what? And let's go to the second page.
Okay.
Well, actually, the third page, and then I'll come back to the second page because Tony Hughes put this together for me and did a really, really nice job on this. Let's just round that off to $10 million because that was a good figure there.
Okay, yeah.
If we would run a 5-year levy at 20%, we would raise $10 million to do the kinds of things that we've outlined that we really feel are needs for our county. If we want to have the kinds of things for our kids that we see other places have. You know, we can run a very solid school system without a levy, but we can't do anything extra. So if we would raise $10 million, and I want you to look at that top bullet, approximately 56%, it's actually more than, it's closer to 57, but approximately 56% of that comes from the power plant. Now, I think we talked the last time, and maybe someone had called in or something and said, yeah, but that just means they'll raise our electric bill. Here's what I need to make sure everybody understands. That's Virginia Power. They sell their electricity to Virginia.
To Virginia.
$5.6 million that would come to Grant County would come from Virginia taxpayers. Wouldn't touch a dime from anybody in Grant County. There's not another county in the state other than Doddridge County that has that opportunity. That's just too good of an opportunity to pass up. $5.6 million.
How about we just tax them then?
Wouldn't that be nice? That'd be great. Now, the other bullet that I want to slide down to, and this is the one that I want to make sure everybody understands. Let's go down to the fourth bullet. Okay, because this just came into effect last year. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use you as an example. Okay? I don't have, you have 1, 2, 3 vehicles? 2 vehicles. Okay. When you paid your property tax on your vehicles, when you go to do your taxes this spring or whenever you do them, There is a place now where you get it's a total tax rebate on that. So if you paid, let's say you paid $300 on your vehicles, you get that $300 back.
Unless you only paid half of a year.
Unless you only even
some people paid half of a year.
They did. That is correct.
Yeah,
that is correct. Here's the thing, and Tony has looked this up, and we have checked on this. So I want to make sure this is very clear. Let's say you paid $300 before the levy, but now because of the levy, you paid $360. Okay, when you go to do your taxes, guess how much you get back? $360. So all the levy tax you pay on your property tax, which is your vehicles, you get it back anyway. So this has become a win-win for Grant County.
It's just the taxes that you pay on housing your houses,
and any land that you may have.
And land.
That is correct.
And I did see here, because this is where it hits me, the 56% of the property tax was the utilities. 31% is the small businesses.
That is correct.
Yeah. So that's where the other big chunk comes from.
Only about 13% of it comes from ordinary taxpayers like myself.
So I know that you're in a position of power, but I'm going to treat you like a politician now.
Oh,
are you ready for this?
I will. You can treat me like a politician.
Okay, like a politician. We have 2 levies on this voting. Tell me why people should vote for your levy, because I'll be honest with you. I don't think Petersburg people and small businesses can afford 2 levies. That's just me.
Well, I think if you're are you talking about the fire department?
Yeah, the fire department. Because I know you're not up against each other.
Absolutely not.
But in my mind, I think it's going to be a pick and choose. So I want you to sell why I should go to the school level.
Well, I'll disagree with you there. I don't think it would be a pick and choose. I think the question is, what do we want our communities to look like? Do we want the types of schools that we envy when we go to other places and say,
"Well, I'm sure we do."
And do we want our fire department to have everything that they need?
And I agree.
And I think they do. So here's what.
But if your businesses go out of business because they're paying just on yours 31% of the property tax, and they have another tax, then then all of our taxes are
right.
Well,
and again, I'm not a proponent of big taxes. I will tell you this also, because again, Tony researched this for me. We have the lowest taxes just about anywhere in the country, and the businesses all over the country pay a lot more than we do, and they're not going out of business. So,
they have a bigger base of people to choose from. We have the economics. But
let me go back to your
small
question.
Number of people that buy stuff.
Let me go back to your question. If we drop our levy from 27 to 20%, and I talked to some folks from the fire department, and we wanted to put on our levy to support the fire department, in addition to the library, the fire department, and they decided to run their own levy. Their levy's 3%. So if we drop to 20%, their levy is 3%. It's still a tax decrease. You're going from 27 to 23. I support both of them wholeheartedly. I live in Hardy County. I have always voted for every school bond. They have brand new schools. Hardy County supports those.
Did we get into the last time what the difference between a bond and a levy is?
So you cannot use levy funds for the building of a new school. Okay? And a levy also cannot be more than 5 years. You can't run one for more than 5. You can run bonds for 20 or 30 years, and you sell bonds to recoup the money. That's just a short of it, but it's more complicated than that. But that's part of it there. And typically when you do a bond to build a new school, you would go to the SBA and also put up county money that you've saved toward that new school and so forth. So that's different.
So what's the benefits of a bond or a levy? I know besides like building a new school, you can't use levy money for it, but could you use a bond for this? And if you could, what is the difference?
No, when you for a bond, it's strictly for a new school.
So bonds are only.
Yeah, we couldn't run a bond. For example, it was on the last levy call to repave all the property.
And, yeah,
you couldn't do go to the SBA with the building bond and do repaving, replacing the boilers in all of our schools or in several of our schools. The HVAC system that was put in at Union, yeah. Those kinds of things you can't run a bond for. So
I didn't know what the difference on those.
Yeah, the bonds are almost exclusively for new building projects.
Okay. Yeah, I'd researched what a bond was, but I didn't know what the benefits or pros or what it could be used for or couldn't be used for. Right. Okay.
And I'll give you an example of what I drive through Moorefield quite a bit, and I look to the right where the old high school that I went to for years was. That building had become unfit for students to be in. And, I pay more taxes in Hardy County for that new high school, but that's money well spent.
But it begs the question, how close are we on our school being unfit to go in? I'm looking at Petersburg High School.
No, and that's a good question. As a matter of fact, the SBA director, Andy Neptune, visited Grant County this summer, and I took him around to our facilities. And he was very impressed with the upkeep and the maintenance, particularly with the fact that we put probably a third to half of our money from the last levy into upgrading our facilities. And we really, I don't think are in a situation where we're close to needing to looking at replacing one of our schools right now because of the maintenance that we've done and so forth. It's an old school, but it's still very well kept. There are some things, and it's on the levy call, that we need to do to PHS, but nothing that comes close to building a new school. When you start talking about building a new school, you're talking 40, 50, 60, $80 million.
Yeah. Which I have a question. It's kind of off topic, but I was talking about it this morning with my brother. What year was the UEC built? How old is that?
That I do not know.
Okay.
That is a very good question.
Wondering. I was like, is it 10 years old? Is it a little older than that?
10? Oh, no, UEC's been there.
Has it been there for a while?
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to think of how long, but it's the newest one in our county, isn't it?
I can't answer that. I know that Petersburg, Maysville's probably the oldest. I think Maysville maybe dates back to the 50s or 60s. I think PHS and PES were late 60s, early 70s. I'm not sure about UEC. I know that at one time you had a high school on the mountaintop that was Baird. And Baird, because of loss enrollment, consolidated with UEC. But when I was in high school back in the 70s, I played basketball at UEC, so it's been there quite some time.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was the newer. Well, it's newer of the ones in the county.
It could be.
But
it could be. I can't say to that.
I was thinking it was a new.
But we've done some things at UEC with and throughout all of our schools with tile abatement, and painting, and boiler replacement and geothermal at UEC. That we feel very good where we are right now with our facilities. We still have things we need to do, but we have maintained them very well.
How is it coming with UEC? I know 2 years ago, I believe it was, that their scores and things were down. Have we brought them back up to?
We won't know until we take the GSA in May.
Okay.
Last year was Lloyd Nesselrode's first year as principal there, and she, that first year you just explore the landscape and look at what do we need to put in place to move in the right direction. She has, I think, dotted all those I's and crossed all those T's and has that school moving in a wonderful direction. We do, from time to time, test our students through a program called iReady, and that's showing that they are making progress in the direction that we want them to. We won't really know until we take the GSA in May, but a lot of good things are taking place.
And about how many students are in there?
It's close to 200.
Close to 200. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Does Maysville Elementary have more or less?
Maysville, I think, has a little more right now. Maysville is one of our pockets of growth.
Yeah, I heard that.
And Petersburg Elementary is a big pocket of growth, which is a good thing. As a matter of fact, Tony told me the other day that he got something from the State Department, and I didn't believe it, so not that I didn't believe him, but I said, I want to see that, and it came from the State Department. I want to think it's accurate, but Grant County and Doddridge County were the only two counties in West Virginia last year that actually showed student growth. That's quite amazing, because that's what you never want to decline in student enrollment. You always want to maintain or grow.
Do you think that is an influx from kids from other countries that are coming in, or did we have a baby boom during the pandemic something?
We have some of what you said, but not a lot. We've not had a lot from other countries. We have some, but not enough to account for what Tony was showing me. It may just be the baby boom. It runs in cycles. And it may be that cycle. I don't know, because it's hitting the elementary schools, not the high schools. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. That's why I'll talk to you in a little bit about an SBA project that we just got funding for. So
okay. Well, since I mentioned kids from other countries, we have more coming in, which is a good thing. What do we do, and how do we help them as a community, as a school system, for a kid that say? So, let me just speak on Haiti. I found this out. So in Haiti, you have to pay to send your kids to school. So they pay, not taxes, they pay to send their kids to school. Mm-hmm. And then if they don't do good, they just yank them out and they don't pay anymore. So let's say that a kid, they paid for him for year 1 and 2, first and second grade, and yanked them out. And then they come here and they're in 11th grade. They've missed all that schooling. How, and it's a lot to ask of the teachers, how do we help that kid who's missed 9 years of schooling? Like, what do we do? How do we help that?
Well, first of all, there's a multitude of issues here, and one's the language barrier a lot of times we run into. And we do have programs that we give the student an iPad or some type of device where it translates for them. So it helps them in that regard. Then we try to, as best we can, test them to see where they fall academically. And let's say, for example, a student comes here 15 years old. They haven't been in public school or anywhere for 6 or 7 years, and they're on a 3rd grade level. Well, obviously, we're not going to put them back into 3rd grade.
Yeah, it wouldn't make much sense. It's not, what was that Adam Sandler movie? Billy Madison?
Yeah.
Was that the one where he went back to school as an adult?
Yeah. Fred Flintstone did that one time, too. I remember that was my favorite.
You're a lot older than that.
I am a lot older. But anyway, you have to look at the size of the child, too. If you don't want a kid that's 5'10", with a bunch of 3rd graders, even if that. So what you do, you put them where they're size appropriate, and you try to give them, as best you can, interventions to catch them up. Will we catch them up if there's that much of a deficit? Probably not. But we try to put interventions in place from some type of special service, whether and they may qualify for a special service, or even if they don't, we have interventions through Title I and other things. But to answer your question, there is no easy fix. That's a tough one. And we do the best we can with the resources that we have.
Is there something outside the box that...
We do have one ESL teacher that works with those students and checks in on them and helps them. I would like to see us get another one. It just, again, comes down to the funding situation.
So you have ESL. Can you tell what that stands for the people that might not know?
Yeah, English as a second language.
Okay. Right. So what language do they speak? The ESL teacher, yes.
They speak English. We're not...
Okay. Well, I mean, so they don't understand what the kid is trying to say to them either.
No.
True, that makes it hard.
Well, here's the thing. I think in Hardy County, I was told one time, they have like 80 different languages from students that have moved in. So there's no way that you can find a teacher that's fluent in all those languages.
So how do they even get over the language barrier then?
The amazing thing is a lot of these kids, at least to some degree, come with some broken English. So and particularly the younger ones, they catch on rather quickly. It's like ones that you mentioned that we might get that are in their teens, that have never spoken a word of English, and haven't been in school for several years. Those are the major challenges that we run into.
Okay.
But again, we're not going... In the West Virginia school system, we don't, and I wouldn't want to, we don't turn anybody away. We take all, and we try to do the best we can with the resources that we're given.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. We sat and we're talking last night, and we're like, what if we went over to another country, and you're just in the middle of the country, you're the only one that speaks, English there, and you're like, here, go to school.
Right.
That's bravery on the kids' part.
Absolutely.
Because that would be hard.
I would be scared to death.
Yeah, really hard.
Scared to death.
Looks like you have a couple things.
Yes.
You want to talk about too?
I do want to mention that the levy that's in place right now, when it was put together, it addressed all the facility needs at that time. That was about 4 years ago, with the exception of the roof at Petersburg Elementary School, which was leaking. But roof replacement is something that can be funded by the SBA, which is the School Building Authority. So the determination at that time was to put the things on the levy that were put there, and then go to the SBA for the roofing and the HVAC at PES. That was the first year I came in as superintendent, went to the SBA, and we did not get funding. So the roof still leaks, and in addition, we now have a situation where one of our pre-Ks closed, and we have students on a waiting list to get into our pre-Ks. At Petersburg Elementary, we have taken our science lab and turned it into an intervention room. We've closed down some computer labs and made those into classrooms. we've partitioned rooms just to find room for our pre-K kids.
So I missed something. Pre-K closed.
We had a pre-K close in town. One of the ones.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, when we had visitors from the SBA here this summer, we talked to them about the roof and the HVAC that we still needed. We said, in addition, we now have no place to put our pre-K kids. This is their first experience in the school system. We really would like to put together something to present to the SBA in that regard also. So I got in touch with an architectural firm, and they came and they agreed that it was they felt it was a good project, one that had a really good chance of getting funding. So they drew up a plan that if you're standing in front of Petersburg Elementary School, if you look to the left, just where the dike area is, that's where the pre-K playground is now. So the plan will be to take the pre-K playground, move it back probably 100 yards or so, and come out and put 4 classrooms with a nice little commons area where they can have their own pre-K place to eat, pre-K furniture designed for them, something that is designed and to look like what pre-K students should see. It's attached but separate. It'll be a pre-K center, 4 pre-K rooms. We went down in November. Brent Nelson and I presented to the SBA. You get 10 minutes. You get to present for 5 minutes, and you get 5 minutes for questions. Not like you, JR. The 10 minutes. They're very fair. They're very fair process. Everybody's under the same rules. Then last week in Charleston, Governor Justice, along with the SBA board, made the announcement, and of course, I went down for the announcement. 19 counties received funding, anywhere from huge projects for new school buildings to small projects to projects kind of in the middle like we are. And the entire project is $5.3 million. And and the SBA always likes it if you can bring county money to the table. When you have a levy in place like we do, it frees you up to have some county money. And we were able to bring $500,000 to the table. So the 5.3, we were asking for 4.8 for total funding. I was thinking in the back of my mind, keep fingers crossed, maybe they'll give us the roofing and the air conditioning, and not get it all. I didn't know. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And when they made the announcement, Mr. Neptune, who was the director of the SBA, was reading off to the board those things that would be approved. Grant County, full funding for a brand new pre-K unit.
Nice.
4 HVAC units. 2 would go over the cafeteria. 2 would go over the gym. All the others we replaced. So we're good to go totally with the HVAC and the roofing now. And then the units will alleviate. We can have our science lab back. We can have our computer labs back. And we can have a pre-K school designed for pre-K students. It's just a
excellent,
unbelievably exciting time.
I asked you last time, was there another way we could get the funding for the roofing?
Yes.
On the last podcast.
Yes.
There we go.
That's it. The SBA will fund roofing.
Good.
We when they were in, we showed them some places where it leaks. It was out of warranty. I don't think PES had a roof for 20 years. So, we will look for every possible avenue.
They didn't get the hail damage new roof.
No.
That's a bummer.
Didn't happen.
There's a lot of houses that helped out.
That's exactly right. But that's a big deal. And I'm hoping groundbreaking this summer. And I'm hoping that obviously kids that would start pre-K this coming fall of 24, it won't affect them. But the kids that would start in 25, I'm hoping that we have it up and running.
Yeah, that's nice. That's
nice.
Good news.
Good news.
Good news. Well, let's stay with elementary school. A therapy dog too. Not the only thing that you got new. A new roof.
Well, we haven't got the therapy dog yet, but I actually got the call from Governor Justice's wife about a month ago. And said that Grant County was up to be awarded with the therapy dog. They're in several of the counties throughout the state now. And
are they giving up baby dogs as a therapy?
No, it's not. No, but I've Governor Justice was at the SBA Awards and he didn't bring baby dog. But
that's a shock.
No, it is a shock. But at the conference that I was at earlier in the week, he did bring baby dog. Baby dog's a pretty good dog. He just sits
he must be getting himself mentally prepared if he gets in as senator.
Could be.
That he probably can't walk it through the halls of Congress.
That is true. Don't know about that. But anyway, the therapy dog, at the one conference that I was at that the First Lady Justice came to, she talked about all the different things that are happening in schools where they have a therapy dog. Attendance is higher. and this is all paid for and associated through communities and schools, but attendance is higher. Some of the discipline problems have dropped because kids just let me go play with the dog for a little bit. It's kind of like a quiet time. The kid will come if the kid's having a bad day, they'll just ask to see the dog. And I know it might sound silly to people that aren't dog lovers, but I've even had adults say, you know what, it helps me. I had principals from other counties saying where they have their therapy dogs, saying it helps their staff to go to that therapy dog sometimes throughout the day.
How did you know you were talking to an animal hater?
I didn't. Are you one?
I can't stand animals.
Really? I did not know that.
I know. I'll have all kinds of hate mail. I'm not an animal person. No.
I've always had a dog. I've always had a cat. I like dogs.
My daughter is, and she is begging. She wants to be a vet, and she's
I
want
that's
an
great.
animal. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you've got to give in at some point, JR.
I don't know. We'll see on that one. So you had. Oh, actually, let me ask this question, and it just slipped my mind. We were talking about it, and there was something that I had read. Oh well, it'll come back to me. But I did see on Facebook you had a big award winner.
Again, it's just really been a good school year. And I'm not trying to cherry coat things. We just had a lot of great things happening. And I want to say this: Governor Justice, when he talked to us at the conference, he told every superintendent there and principal. He said, "You know what your biggest problem is?" He said, "You don't tell your story, so therefore other people tell it, and they get the negativity out there." He said, "I know there are so many good things happening in your schools all across this state." Because he said, I coach at Greenbrier. I see all the good things. And where I go to different schools, he said, "Get your story out there." This is one of our biggest stories. We had a milking winner. And it's funny how this happened. If you don't mind, I'll share the story. Our golf team was playing in the regional finals down at Valley View, and it was a nice afternoon. And about 2:00, I told Sandy, who was still working as a secretary, and she's retired since. We really miss her, but Tabby Seitz has stepped in and done a great job. But anyway, I said, I'm going to go down and watch the regional golf match and just enjoy the afternoon, see how our boys are doing. Well, I get down there, and my phone rings, and it's State Superintendent. I thought, oh my gosh, is she going to say I shouldn't be on the golf course here? So is she tracking me that closely? And she said, "Mitch," and I said, "Yes." She said, I want you to step away. I don't want anybody near you when I tell you this. I thought, oh my goodness, what in the world has happened here? And she said, "It's good news." Good. I thought, oh, thank goodness. So she said, you've got a milking winner. She said the only two people that can know are you and the principal. The Milken Foundation has made it very clear if anybody else finds out, they'll call it off. So Amanda Campbell and Amanda, the principal at Petersburg High School, we had to come up with some way. She said, State Superintendent Blatt said, create a diversion. So we knew that last year was the 100 years of Grant County, or of Petersburg High School. So we had the state superintendent to come in kind of as a facade to celebrate the 100 years of Petersburg High School, which was a great thing, and she did that. She took some time to do that, but the whole purpose was to recognize this outstanding teacher, Ashley Wilkins, as a Milken winner. Just to let you know how unique this is, less than 75 teachers in the country are recognized annually.
Wow.
That's a little over one per state. If you do the math, we're a small state. Yeah. Unbelievable. She got a $25,000 cash award just for herself for her outstanding service to the profession. So that's huge. That is huge, and I'm glad you asked me that question.
I like Ashley. I actually did her wedding.
Oh, okay.
And she's been helping us with some of the Haitians, helping them in school and things like that. So she'll very deserving.
She'll go above and beyond, and like many of our teachers do. And I'm just so excited for her. Now, what I did tell her, that for every $1,000 she got, that was a year of service she had to give to Grant County. She lives in Hardy County, and she can't go back, I told her. So I don't know if she believes that or not.
I remembered what the other thing was.
Okay.
It was communities and schools.
Okay.
So I saw something, and I don't fully understand it. Communities and schools got funding or fully did I hear something like that?
You probably did, because it is communities and schools. It's not like it's here to stay forever. It's something that the legislature has to. Well, first of all, the federal government has to release the money, and then the legislature has to decide if they want it and accept it and take it. And I think all the areas where that had to take place took place. And I don't know how far in the foreseeable future, but I know it is funded at least in the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Anyway.
When you said that, I remembered I'd read an article about it and what it was, and that it received something.
And what it is in a nutshell for the Grant County schools, it pays for 4 people, 1 in each school, that acts as a social worker to intervene and help with kids with any issues they have. Maybe they don't have a jacket. Maybe they don't have anybody to take them to their dentist appointment in the afternoon. Maybe there's spousal abuse in their home and they want to talk to somebody. Just tons of things that teachers aren't equipped or really don't have the time. As much as teachers care, they just don't have the time to take out of their instructional day. And we have this person in place to do those kinds of things. And I've got to say, there's been a lot of community support in the Petersburg and surrounding area and UEC from people and businesses that have given to communities and schools so that we have jackets for kids and food for needy families and things like that. So very giving community, and I just say hats off to those folks in our community throughout the county that have helped.
So you talked about 4 people with that in that. So I'll bring this up to my next point that someone shared with me, a news article. I guess it was up to rehire a Judy Dodson, who is the head or in charge of or teaches science in reading. And then her daughter, who's a psychologist, and that's what made me think of it when you said that, and that we brought her on as is it a countywide psychologist? Well, maybe explain what both of their positions are.
Yes. Let me go with Judy first of all, and I'm going to take you back probably 8 or 10 years ago when we were on state takeover, and Dr. Bolton was the superintendent, and she did not like where our reading scores were, and justifiably so. And she was ahead of her time. She knew the science of reading before anybody in West Virginia talked about the science of reading, and she brought in what I would call the guru, who was Carol Tolman, and trained all of our principals, all of our teachers of reading, all of our special ed teachers on the science of reading. You and I were taught completely different than what the science of reading teaches. The way you and I were taught, if you can recognize sight words and commit things to memory and so forth, you can probably read. But for those kids that can't do that, there was no.
I wasn't taught that way.
Well, but anyway, I'm just saying. That's right. I am older than you. But you weren't taught through phonemes and phonemic awareness and
that's how I was taught.
Okay. Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Remember, I'm not from around here.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say because it wasn't
when I was learning to read, I was in Pittsburgh, Philly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. So it was probably there before we were able to get it here. But anyway, the thing you have to do, the thing you don't want to do, first of all, is bring someone in like Dr. Carol Tolman, train all your staff, then she goes away. It was a great training, and 6 months everybody forgot what they were doing. So you need to sustain it. So she recommended one of the folks that had worked under her was Judy Dodson, and she recommended to Dr. Bolton, if you want to keep your staff trained and because we lose staff all the time, and staff just needs retrained. It's just like any other profession. So we kept Judy on to provide that training for us as needed, whether it's new staff, whether it's just updates, whatever it might be. I'm not sure the $2,500 a day or whatever it is that she gets. Here's what I can tell you, and I know Vanessa will tell you this. She is for the bang for the buck. She's cheaper than any other national. She's nationally known. We bring her in from Colorado. You don't get nationally known trainers at the price that she has been willing to do for Grant County. She's established a relationship here with a lot of us. She loves the county. She loves our kids, and she really gives us a good bang for our buck. And again, it is federal money that we're required to spend a portion on training.
But it was $2,500 a day for max 25 days. But here's the question I have on that, and you can correct me or show me the proof or whatever. Our reading scores have dropped.
Our reading scores, okay, I wouldn't say they've dropped. We, like everybody else, because of the pandemic, is where you saw a drop, without any question. And we felt, and that's one of the reasons we felt that during the pandemic we weren't using, we couldn't. Judy couldn't travel. We had let some of the training go because of other things. So that's one of the reasons we brought her back more extensively.
So was she on last year?
Last year she was back on.
Okay.
to a certain degree, not as extensive as and again, this year she's only been here one time. But anyway, our reading scores, and this is what I've talked to my principals about too. It's not necessarily that our reading scores have dropped, but other counties are surpassing us because they're getting into the science of reading and stuff too. So in other words, we may have been, a couple years ago, we may have been 5th in the state and dropped to 12th, but that doesn't mean our scores dropped. Our scores may have increased a little bit, but 7 or 8 of those counties increased more. So our standing dropped in the state, even though our scores, you can't stay stagnant. You've got to move forward.
How many years have we been doing the science of reading? Was this pre-pandemic or just after the pandemic?
No, we've been doing the science of reading probably about 8 years.
Okay.
Probably about 8 years. I would put Vanessa up against any elementary curriculum director in the state on her knowledge base. We have other counties calling her all the time for information because we have been ahead of the game. However, everybody's catching up now. That's why when you said our scores have dropped, other than the pandemic drop, which everybody dropped, it's not so much that we've dropped, it's just that other counties are starting to catch up. So we've got to stay on our game. We've got to continue to use Judy's services and continue to train our staff.
And then we hired her daughter on, who is a psychologist. What will her position? Is she training other psychologists, or
No.
is she doing what does she do?
No. When at the end of the school year last year, and one thing that again I go back to Vanessa, who does our staff development, when she put that out there to the staff, one of the questions I think was, would you be interested in something for mental health issues, how to deal with mental health issues with students, and how to maybe deal with anything that you might be going through. And overwhelmingly, I think it was like 80 or 90% of the staff said that they wanted someone brought in that could give them things to help students with that have these mental health issues.
So she does more with the staff than the kids?
Yes, she doesn't do anything. She doesn't do anything with the kids.
So she's training the teachers, I guess, to help.
Yes.
So do we have a school psychologist?
We do.
Okay.
We have a county psychologist who does an excellent job.
Okay.
Yes.
So does she? So I'm trying to figure out So the kids go to our county psychologist, but this Anna teaches the teachers. I'm trying to figure.
I think
wrap my head around.
And then the thinking there was, and Cassidy Heslacker is our county psychologist.
Oh, okay. I know
she does an outstanding job, and many of these things that Anna talked about, Anna Dotson, who was the one we brought in, I'm sure Cassidy was aware of and could have done also, but Cassidy is so backed up with testing and threat assessments and so many of the things that we have her doing. I think at this particular time, Vanessa's thinking was, we have a psychologist who is trained in this. We know through Judy Dotson that this person is of high character and can provide the service that we think our staff need. So it was just a one-shot. At the beginning of the school year, you have different folks that come in to provide trainings from all kinds of places. And it was a one-shot deal where she came in and just gave a really good overview, but made herself available to staff. If they ever want to call or do a follow-up, she'll do that.
So these two positions are more teaching teachers.
Yes.
Almost.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the teachers to the kids.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
They'll go in and observe some class, particularly Judy. She'll go in with a principal or with Vanessa and observe maybe a classroom to see if the science of reading has been implemented the way it should be, or to make suggestions. But no, they don't directly teach our kids.
So let's talk about that, because that was the other question. You said that came from federal funds.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was actually in the article that they sent me.
Okay.
Excuse me. Sorry. So it came from federal funds. What are those federal funds? Are they earmarked? I think that's what it said. I think in the article you were quoted saying, if we don't use 85% of the funds, then you lose the funds or something. Can you explain?
Well, you can only carry.
You
can only carry. I think, and I don't want to misquote here, but I think you can only carry 15% over. So yeah, what 85% you must spend, and there's a line item as to what percentage needs to be spent in certain areas. For example, we're talking about continuing ed for teachers. You use it or lose it.
Is that what this falls
Yes.
under, continuing education?
Yes.
So the federal funds couldn't be used for ESL teachers, this section of it?
I don't want to misspeak. I can go back and talk to Vanessa.
I'm trying to solve your ESL problem.
No, I know. No, and I know that's a major problem, but we cannot hire teachers if that's what you're asking with that money. No.
Okay, with the federal funds.
Right.
So if you hire an ESL, another person, that comes out of your county funds or just your operating budget or whatever?
Yes. There are ways that you can advertise positions depending on how you title them. But if a direct teacher, we can, we do have Title I teachers, but then again,
what's the Title I teacher? I think we went over this.
Yeah, they're not even called Title I teachers anymore. I think we call them interventionists.
Okay.
They pull students to give them additional help, and particularly in the areas of reading is where we use them for.
Okay.
But
okay, that was all my questions.
Those are good questions.
Last night, I didn't get these to you because last night my phone started blowing up. Hey, ask.
I'll take any question. If I can't answer it, I will try to find that answer for you. But I'm almost 100% certain that there's just no way around the federal money being used to hire an ESL teacher. I know we've talked about that, and I'll talk more to Vanessa about that. And if I'm wrong, I'll just say, I was wrong. But I know we would like to try to figure out a way to get more services for those kids.
Do you know about how many kids we have in the county now? I know that's really putting you on the spot.
No, I was thinking maybe between 10 and 12, maybe 15.
And I think the last time we talked, we had 1 or 2 is all we had.
Yes.
Yeah. So in 6 months' time, we've really went up.
Right. And if that number's wrong, I'll give you a call.
Yeah.
I'll give you a call and straighten out some of those if I'm misquoting myself here.
Do we have a kind of a idea of when the final numbers of the levy will be in?
JR, that's a good question. I'm meeting today with our steering committee.
Okay.
And our steering committee is made up of community members. It's made up of retired teachers. It's made up of current employees. It's made up of parents. All these folks are meeting. We're probably going to have 15 or 20 people there that are all wanting to put together a final draft of what they're hearing that people would like to see on a levy, what they think will pass, what as parents what they want their kids to have, and then I think in late January we probably should have a final draft, and we do. I'll get back out here with you and go over it with you.
Is it all right if I share,
absolutely,
take a picture and I'll let people know that this is not a final.
That is just a draft.
This is just a draft.
That is a draft.
And then that way they'll be like, well, can we get rid of this and do this?
Sure.
Or do,
everything's got a moving target on it right now.
Okay.
There's only one right here that we've not put a number beside of because I've got a question mark as to whether or not we'll do this. I have had people tell me that right now we don't pay to get into high school ball games.
High school, yeah.
But if you go to a Little League basketball game or a Little League football game, you pay $2. And that doesn't sound like much. But for maybe grandparents that have 4 or 5 grandkids, that's $25 a week. So people said, is there any way we could address that? So
another question on the money that came in for the free games.
Mm-hmm.
Is that put back in the athletic department? That's what that's used for?
What we did there, we did a determination of what kind of money did the athletic department lose from not gaining gate receipts. And then on that estimate, then annually we give that back to the athletic department.
Have you noticed an increase in people coming, or do you probably don't even track it now?
We don't track it. I just know that a lot of people will tell me, my goodness, I went to 5 games this year and I paid my taxes. So
yeah.
You take your kids. If two adults and 2 kids go, you're talking $20 $20 So.
And speaking of which, if you're interested in coming to free games, starting after the holiday tournament. I'm not going to do the holiday tournament for the boys. Mm-hmm. The girls had theirs, but for the boys, starting after that, I think the first date is January 6th. We will be having at halftime the Digital Illusion Rentals halftime half-court shot.
Good deal.
We'll be picking one person out of the stadium, out of the stands. They get one shot from half court. They sink it. They get $100 cash.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I've already had the mayor ask me, can he be the first person?
Well, the mayor's probably like me. I'm not sure I can get it there from half court anymore. I'd have to be top of the key maybe.
Yeah. So
that's great.
I'm like, maybe we can get some more people in and make some excitement. I like I said, I love doing the games.
Yeah. Well, I think you do a great job with them, and I appreciate you being there the other night for the tournament.
Yeah, I couldn't come Saturday. I was so bummed Saturday when the schedule came out. I was already booked. I had a Christmas party in Franklin that had called me months and months ago and said, put us on the books. And he already put me on the books for next year. And I'm like, that's holiday tournament probably time. I'll probably miss Saturday again.
Well, here's what, and I'm saying this sincerely. You give it a really nice professional tone. And,
well, thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Really enjoy
I have fun.
Yeah,
I have fun. And if we ever get a technical, it's not because of me. It's because of my wife behind me yelling at the refs. She gets into it.
Hey,
that wasn't a foul.
I know. I had my opinions the other night too, but I try not to get too involved.
Well, thank you for coming, Mitch, and let me hit you with the questions again and explaining things. I really appreciate it.
Good questions, and you had some that I maybe didn't answer thoroughly. I will give you a call in the next couple of days and try to get back with you on some of those.
Yeah,
and
sounds great.
If you get a chance to broadcast them and clarify them, feel free to do that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, everyone, thank you. Explore Grant County, Superintendent of Schools, Mitch Webster. Have a great day.